right, hello. Welcome to the DR McNatty Power BI for Project Management Analyzing P6 Primavera webinar. Whew, say that 3 times. All right, I am Aaron White. I am your host for the day for I guess the next 20 to 30 minutes. And I will be the one taking you on the journey through Power BI. It's a magical journey. It's wonderful, and just buckle in and let's get to it. But before we do that, let me brag about myself a little bit. Let me introduce myself. So, like I said, my name is Aaron White. I am a BI solution architect with DR McNatty. I've been with the firm for roughly 6 months, enjoying it. As for experience, the majority of my experience falls into the Oracle and the Microsoft platforms space, primarily dealing with Power BI. Data migration, so we're talking on-prem to cloud-based SQL servers, and all the fun stuff that happens in between, and just app creation, primarily within Power Apps, working with Canvas apps, building out the app itself, connecting it to Dataverse, and kind of delivering it that end product to clients. So a little bit all over the place, but really enjoying it, and plan to be doing it in the future. In terms of certifications, you can see you got 3 up there. We got the first one is the PL300, which is Microsoft's Power BI certification. Second one is the AZ900, which has to do with the Azure cloud environment, so it just covers the basics. And then the last one, which is actually pretty interesting, I don't have it yet, but I am studying to get it currently, is the DP600, which has to do with Microsoft Fabric and the admin and the data analytical capabilities it provides. So a little thing about Fabric. So me and a coworker had the opportunity to actually go to the Microsoft Fabric conference about 2 weeks ago, learn all about the platform, all the new features coming in, and I can't say enough good things about it. So if you do know, if you aren't aware of Fabric, Microsoft Fabric, it's basically an end-to-end solution that allows you to take all your sources that you have from various places. It could be SQL servers, it could be like a P6, it could be a unifier, and then build out those data pipelines, put them into a cloud SQL server, and then connect it to Power BI. So all of that happens in one space. So that's what Microsoft Fabric provides. It's definitely on the rise, and if you haven't heard of it, I would really I would push you to take a look, get informed about what's going on in that space, because I think it's going to be very big moving forward. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, I'd love to chat about it. So feel free to reach out to me personally, or Patrick, or Dan, and we'd love to have that conversation. All right. So on to the fun stuff. So basically, this webinar is going to cover 4 main questions that I hear a lot from clients, from family, from friends. And the first one's going to be, what is Power BI, Aaron? Like, you talk about it constantly. It seems like we can't start or end a conversation without just chatting about Power BI. And I'm like, I get it, but hey, like, that's all I do. So give me a break, right? So we're going to talk about what is Power BI. We're just going to cover the basics. Number 2, how can I get my P6 data into Power BI, right? So like, I can, these visuals look cool, but like, I can't even, how am I supposed to build the visuals if I don't know how to bring the data in? So we're going to do a high level of typically what happens in that process of going from data to Power BI. Third question I get is like, what will my P6 data, or really any data, look like in Power BI? So, you can enter the data. If you can get the data into Power BI, that's great. But, what does it really look like? What can I do with that data? So this is kind of the fun interactive part. We'll actually go through a demo dashboard that I've been working on, and we can actually kind of see, what the slicers do and how you can slice and dice your data to access kind of the information that you'd like to see. And this will be done on using a project management dashboard. So all of you who are eager to see some Gantt charts, we got some Gantt charts set up for you. So just stay tuned. And then the fourth question I get is, I have these visuals, I have the data in my Power BI desktop, and that's great. But now I want to kind of brag, but I want to share it with the world. I want to kind of show everyone what I create. So how do I do that? So we're gonna end the webinar with just a little basics of the basics of how that's done and kind of how we have our environment set up so other people can access it, right? So without further ado, let's just dive into question number one, right? So what is Power BI? So according to Microsoft, Power BI, it's built out of three different prongs. All right. So the first prong is Windows desktop application called Power BI Desktop. So this is what you, if you have much knowledge about Power BI, this is that is the traditional, the traditional platform where you can bring in your data, you build the visualizations. That is just one prong of what Power BI is. But that's what most people know it for. But little do other people know sometimes that number two, the second prong is actually there's another service called Power BI Service, right? So Power BI Service is that online platform where you can build out workspaces, you can build out apps, you can put in multiple dashboards to these workspaces, add them to apps, and then you can share it with a multitude of people. So you can kind of imagine number one, the desktop application is kind of your dev environment. And then number two is more of that environment where you can share and you can give it to everyone and allow them to use the dashboards that you created. Right? And the last one, the third one, is that honestly, it's the third prong is the mobile apps, and that's how those are created and developed. It's a mixture of one and two. So I say that as in because for number one, you have to set the dimensions, the dynamic dimensions within your Power BI desktop as you develop those apps or develop those visualizations, and then when you actually publish it, there's a kind of a unique set of parameters you have to set in order to launch that to your mobile audience. So traditionally, or I guess in my experience, I haven't seen a lot of work done or final results done on the Power BI mobile ads. Not to say there's not any value in it, but traditionally you see a lot of work, or you see the majority of work done in these desktop applications and the software as a service where people are sitting at their desktops and they're looking at a monitor and they're viewing that information. All right, so we've answered the question of what is Power BI? And now you can talk to your family, you can talk to your friends, your coworkers, all about what Power BI is from a high level. But the probably the follow up question if you ask or you tell them about what Power BI is like how can I actually get this data into Power BI and then start building some visualizations with it. So there's generally there's two lines of thought. So we're not going to go too deep into these, but from a high level, I think they're important to know. So the first one is it's using Power BI's native connector. So this is something called Power Query. If you have some experience with Excel, then you're going to be familiar with Power Query. So basically, Power Query hosts a bunch of connectors, whether it be for Excel sheets or P6 connectors, SAP connectors, Unifier, SQL Server. All of these typically can connect into Power BI's environment via Power Query. Along with that, Power Query has the ability to perform transformations, change data types, perform merges between tables, etc. So very powerful tool. That said, not typically what you want for a long-term solution. In terms of adding multiple data sources into one place within Power BI's Power Query environment. Reason being, mostly it's a mixture of security and security issues as well as scalability. So as your organization starts to use Power BI more and more, you're going to have a lot of people wanting access to data, right? So whether it be data through the dashboards or data itself. So typically when you go this route, you get a lot of frustration because maybe you're sharing a dashboard and someone says, hey, I want to use that dashboard, and either A, they can't see the data because they don't have permissions or proper permissions, and it's not because they're just not allowed to see them. It's just IT didn't know that they needed access to, say, like a P6 database or a unifier. And so then you start to get a long line piled up behind an IT desk. And then they're like, hey, like, why are we suddenly getting this influx? And so for that reason, you typically want to go the second route, or number 2, which is basically where you build something called a data warehouse. Now, a data warehouse is just basically a one-stop shop for a multitude of tables drawn from multiple sources. So in this example, we have an SAP server. We have something from Unifier. We have some tables from Unifier. We have some tables from P6, and then we got a couple Excel spreadsheets, right? So what these arrows represent are just data pipelines. So they're scripts developed maybe from like a Python or JavaScript, or they're using a migration tool like Azure Data Factory or OIC. And basically what it does is it grabs the tables that are here and it inserts them in this data warehouse. And so once that's done, now you have a one-stop shop, and now you can connect it to Power BI, and then you can give your permissions. So now your users only need access or security access to the data warehouse itself. And so you've kind of cut out all the additional issues that come with one, scalability and security by bringing all your sources into one place, and then and only then bringing it to Power BI. So once again, this is very high level, but it is important to kind of recognize that, yeah, these are the 2 traditional methods. This one, number 2, is what I would say the long-term solution that is the most scalable and secure.
All right, so we answered our first 2 questions. What is Power BI, and how do we get our data into Power BI? What are the common methods, and then maybe what is the best method? So now we're going to get into more of the fun side of things. We're actually going to dig into the dashboards themselves and kind of see what we can build with that data, what visuals we can see, and then what we can actually do to slice, dice, and filter those visuals. But before we get into that, we do have a brief statement, a safe harbor statement. Just to say the following is intended to outline our general product direction, is intended for information purposes only, may not be incorporated into any contract. It's not a commitment to delivering material, code, or functionality, and should not be relied upon in making purchasing decisions. The development, release, and timing of any features or functionality described for Oracle's timing of any features or functionality described for Oracle's products remains at the sole discretion of Oracle. So this is just something I have to say to stay in the good graces of Oracle. All right, so we're just going to dive into our program summary. So as you do see right here, we do have a lot of this blurred out, and that's just it's to fall in line with our NDA that we currently have with this client. So I do apologize for that, but you're still going to be able to get the relative feel and look what a traditional dashboard looks like within Power BI desktop. All right, so let's just dive right in. So you can see this is a portfolio cost summary. So a portfolio with a multitude of projects within it. So you can see over here you have a project type, and then you can list out the budgets, the commitments, the expenditures, the forecast. So you can get your high-level cost information. Next, you have like a portfolio forecast distribution in a pie chart. Kind of shows a very similar thing to the table right here, but puts in a visual taste. Next, we have a regions table. We have a projects table. And then we have kind of what everyone, at least everyone that's a project manager, has been looking for in this that Gantt chart. So what you can see is the category hierarchy with project numbers underneath it. Those are project numbers. I know they are kind of blurred out, but that's what they are. And then you can see the timelines of these individual projects within each category hierarchy. Furthermore, with each one of these or I guess within this dashboard, you have the ability to filter accordingly. So whether you want to filter by delivery method, by the project type, or by the executive who's running it. And of course, even at the highest level, or I guess most importantly, you can actually filter by the date as well. So if you want to go through a variety of different periods, in this instance, it's months, you can do that. You can check what was going on in April 2025. You can check what's going on in May or March. Whatever periods these projects or portfolios have been open, you will have access to that data and be able to kind of track that on a timeline. So next, we're going to go into our project information. So this is going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into each project. So I know once again this is blurred out at the top, but this represents projects that you can access within that are available within P6, right? And so each time you select this slicer or the activity or once again the period, you'll get the following information filtered purely for that project. So you'll get the key milestones, you'll get the details, you'll get individual call outs within that project. So whether it be the description, the status, the risk, the issues, all of that is available on this one dashboard. And once again, saving the best for last, we do have our Gantt chart, which will allow you to break that project down into its individual activities and tasks, and then you can actually slice and dice to kind of get, or I guess find the timeline that you're looking for. So this is, I guess, a very a snapshot of the capabilities or a small taste. And let's put it this way: it's a small taste of what Power BI can do for your P6 data. So
All right, on to Power BI service. So, Power BI service answers the question of, can I give my team access to dashboards after they are created? So just a quick recap on what Power BI service is. It basically gives your team the ability to share dashboards, share reports to members of your team, as well as members of your organization, all in one place. So typically in Power BI service, you can see this occur within workspaces as well as apps. So we're actually going to take a look at an app and give you an example of what that could look like for you and your team. So here is a, we called it DRM P6 CDC dashboard. And this app right here, as you can see, it contains the dashboard that we were just viewing, the PM dashboard. As you can see, it's the same visuals, the same filters, the same slicers. Nothing's really changed, except that it doesn't have that dev functionality that you saw within Power BI Desktop. So just wanted to touch on this, that you can bring your dashboards up into a centralized location, and then you can share it with members of your team and organization. It's a very powerful part of Power BI that is definitely worth mentioning. So that said, let's wrap this up. So just the recap, we covered what Power BI is. It's a three-prong approach. It's a Power BI desktop, it's Power BI service, it's Power BI mobile apps. Second question of, how do I get my data within Power BI or in Power BI? The two options. One, which is more short term, is you just use the connectors that are available in Power Query. The more long term is to take all your sources and merge them into or pull them all into a singular location called data warehouse, and then connect that to Power BI. The third question is, like, how do we visualize it? What do those visualizations look like? We saw that within the Power BI desktop dashboards that we viewed, and kind of looked at some of the slicers and some of those Gantt charts of how we can massage that data. We can look into the various pieces and parts that you typically can't look at in other visualization softwares. And then the last question, can I give my team access to dashboards after they're created? We looked at Power BI service and kind of a little bit about what it is, as well as what its purpose is, which is to share with members of your team and organization. So that all said, there is a bunch more that you can do with Power BI. So just a little pitch for our upcoming webinar, which we'll have to double check with Patrick, but I believe it's a month from now. It's going to be about replicating your P6 OBS in Power BI using role level security. So the basic concept of this is that you can take your OBS and you can have, say, a project manager that has access only to projects A and B, and you can create the system, or you can recreate that system within Power BI. That will basically only allow that project manager to see projects A and B in that Power BI dashboard when it's shared with them. So very powerful tool that I will be, I guess, kind of going over high level of kind of how it works and what it could look like in your system. So I'm going to open the floor for any questions, comments, quandaries that you may have. So you can put that in the chat. You can just unmute and ask. Or if you come up with any questions that maybe come after you leave the seminar or the webinar, you can email me, or you can email Patrick or Dan, and we'd love to answer your questions. So hope you found this informative, and have a great day.